Let's talk about the NBA draft. Let's just quickly look at some of the results here. Spurs obviously drafted Victor Wembanyama first. Then we had Brandon Miller to the Hornets. Scoot Henderson went to the Blazers. Again, we just talked about, all the drama leading up to that. Would the Blazers trade the pick? Were they going to draft Scoot? Would it make Dame happy? He got drafted. Rockets take Amen Thompson. Pistons took Azor Thompson. Magic drafted Anthony Black. Pacers Bilal Coulibaly, my bad, pronounced that incorrectly. 8 was Wizards taking Jarris Walker. 9, Taylor Hendricks. Mavericks went Case and Wallace. That's the top 10. That's how it shook out. Obviously, this was another draft where it felt really top heavy, right? The NBA draft felt super top heavy. And then as it went down, a lot of people said this was a weak draft. I kind of feel like some real value fell in this draft. Some of the teams, to me, there was picks. There were some players in the second round that I actually like, that I actually think have a real shot. I mean, Amari Bailey, I think, has a real shot. Amani Bates, I think, has a legitimate shot. These are guys with, true talent, true ability. And will they be steals for the teams that got them? Maybe. Maybe. It's possible. It's possible. There were some very interesting guys on here. And we know that drafts never, work out exactly how we think they are going to. Some of the top players always end up busting. Some players towards the second round or late in the draft end up becoming stars. It's just the way it plays out. There was some really fun drafts here, though. I like some of the teams that had multiple picks, with multiple picks in the first round, and then having some second and actually use their second round picks, like the Hornets, right? Drafting Brendan Miller, whether you believe he should have been drafted there or not, but before Scoot is up to you. But then they drafted Nick Smith. Then they drafted Amari Bailey. So like a draft like that, I like that. The Rockets getting one of the Thompson twins and then Cam Whitmore at 20. Stuff like that, I like. The Magic, again, my team, don't want to be too biased, but Anthony Black and Jet Howard, those 2 first-round picks always seem to play out really well, or at least you get excited about the upside. You get excited about, what these teams can do with them. So I like some of those drafts. I think the Blazers did great. The Blazers got Scoot Henderson. The Blazers got Chris Murray, the brother of Keegan Murray. They did pretty well. Just in they got Ryan Rupert. They did pretty good, right? Again, I know Dame might not be happy with all the rookies, but in general, they did pretty well in the draft. And it may not be perfect if you're a veteran and you want to, get to a championship this season. So Dame, I can understand, being unhappy. But at the end of the day, like, why not? Pretty good draft overall. You can't really be mad at it. I wanted to share this video. Victor Wembanyama was hitting everything. This is Vader H Town on Twitter. I believe the Spurs actually posted this video first. He's just putting up shots after he joined the Spurs. And so this is what comes with being the number 1 pick, right? This is what comes with that territory. This is what comes with all the accolades, the shine, the love that someone like, Wembanyama is going to get. It's going to cost him in terms of the expectations of people. We've seen this before. We've seen players coming with all the hype. We've seen players coming with all the accolades, all the stats, all the attributes, all the highlight videos, and then they struggle in the NBA or they get hurt. And you wonder how much of that, injury may have been stress related and causing things to just kind of fall apart. I believe in that kind of stuff, right? And so will he be able to step up to it? He seems like a great human. He seems like he's mature. He seems like he's got his head on straight. Everything seems right. But again, that could be heavy. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And so there's a lot of weight being put on him right now. We'll see if he can, rise to the occasion. But it's definitely, something we're going to follow. We're going to see if here's a question for you guys. I want you guys to drop in the comments. Will Victor Wembanyama be the rookie of the year? Or do you see a Scoot Henderson or a Brendan Miller or somebody actually stealing that? One of the Thompson brothers. Do you see somebody actually stealing that? Or do you think no way possible, Neal? Wembanyama is 100% going to be the rookie of the year. I'm curious. Drop it in the comments. I will respond to you guys. I never leave a comment unresponded to. So I'm curious what you guys think. Is he the sure number 1, no doubt about it, going to be rookie of the year? Or do you think that one player is going to come up there and steal that? And if you do, who is that player? Who do you think the player is that is actually going to be able to push that? Some other positive, interesting, fun stats from the NBA draft. 1 pair of twins, 2 in the top 5. Very cool. I was excited for these 2. It was fun to see. It seemed like they have a great family, great mom and dad, great upbringing. It's cool to see these guys take a different route, and get into the NBA. They didn't go to college. They didn't go into like the G League or any of that kind of stuff. They actually took a new route, and so it's cool to see this happen. What when do you see this happen? Where do you see two brothers, two twins, and they're both top 5 picks? That's crazy. We've seen brothers in the league. We've seen brothers. We've seen this happen before, but twins, top 5, both. That was very cool to see. So shout out to them. I think they'll do good in the league. I think both will have success. I know a lot of people say there's holes in their shooting, but I think they have enough athletic ability, passing, playmaking, defensive, skills to make it. Those are all they have that great foundation. Now you just got to get your shooting improved, and I think they can definitely do that. Uh, Again, I can't stop talking about the whole Scoot Henderson situation with the Blazers. He said, "I think Dame Lillard should stay just because if we combine our games, it'll be over. We kind of complement each other's games. We're both fun to watch. Ticket sales will go up." Again, Scoot's over here campaigning for Dame to stay. Of course he is, just like anybody with sense would, because he knows it'll be easier for him in in Portland with Dame than it would be without him. At the same time, if for some reason they trade Dame, then Scoot Henderson, you are the franchise player, the face of this team. There's no question about it in my eyes. So that is going to be just a fun thing to follow the entire season. Uh, Again, the NBA draft gave us so many storylines. Another cool thing, not a brother situation, but Jed Howard. Many of you may not know his father is Juwan Howard. He played in the NBA obviously for forever. A really great player. Uh, just a dude who gets talked about a lot by NBA players, right? He gets a lot of love, respect, smart dude, good player, but like really tough and on defense and just overall a gritty type of player. His son got drafted by the Orlando Magic. That was cool because he also played for the Magic for a short period of time. So that was just another. I like seeing these kind of things when these legacies continue. You know what I mean? Like when you see the situations where like Carmelo talks about his son carrying his legacy. You see LeBron talking about his son Bronny coming into the league, and everyone wants to see them play together. So this is just another one of those stories where it's like Jet, his dad played in the league forever, made his impact. Now he gets to do the same thing, and he was a top 11 pick. So that's nothing to like not be proud of. That's crazy. Here, I joked about this, but going into the draft, Brandon Miller, who is now with the Hornets, who is now, the team that is owned by Michael Jordan, some way, some form, as he sells it and still stays a minority owner, I believe. He actually said that he didn't think LeBron James was the go to basketball or Michael Jordan. He thought it was Paul George was the go to basketball. And I joked when he said this that he should definitely be dropping his draft stock after that. It didn't obviously happen. He obviously continued to do really well, got picked second. This is one of those situations where people said, hey, is he worthy of that position? Is he better than Scoot Henderson? Is he better than everybody below him? And again, you come into that conversation where a guy who is 6'9" and up can shoot threes, can play defense, can guard multiple positions. Whether he is the better player over Scoot right now, whether he's going to score more points than Scoot or make as much of a difference, there's those intangibles that you just don't see a lot in the league. And it's kind of like, the Tobias Harris situation, for instance. He just recently said, casual 76ers fans would trade me for a crumble cookie. But what they don't get is that they're not going to get a 6'9", 6'10", forward back who could shoot almost 40% from three and do all these things. And this is what he's talking about. This is why Brendan Miller is drafted number 2, because he's, that Tobias Harris type role that we're talking about, or the Paul George type role that we're talking about. Those guys who are a certain height, can shoot threes at a certain clip, can play defense. Like, it's hard to find those guys. So, that's why they drafted him over Scoot. Obviously, also to mention they had LaMelo Ball. So it kind of would feel a little redundant maybe on their end. So again, I joke about the quote. I just think it was funny that he said that. And a lot of players coming up in this draft said Paul George was their favorite player, or that he's a player they emulate, or a player they want to play against. So Paul George clearly made his impact. Same thing with Russell Westbrook. Those are two of the names we hear a lot. And of course, everybody said they wanted to like dunk on LeBron James and stuff like that. So interesting to see the players that are from that generation that are making an impact on the guys come up in this generation. The last thing I wanted to share, and this is one that was kind of, just breaking now today, is everyone was asking why was Cam Whitmore dropping in the draft? Like what was causing him to fall from what many were predicting like a top 4, top 5, top 6 pick to 20, like an Aaron Rodgers like fall, one of those falls where you can't really make sense of it. So here, people were thinking it was a medical thing, whether he was having medicals that were, red flagging for people or what it may have been. Here, Ryan Russillo confirms on the Bill Simmons podcast that Cam Whitmore fell in the NBA draft due to Villanova coach Kyle Neptune. Neptune didn't talk him up and spoke poorly about him to GMs. So this is something that's really frowned upon by everybody in terms of a college coach talking down his player to NBA GMs, coaches, organizations, whatever have you. This is one of those situations that people really frown upon. And what he said about him, I don't know, right? There was potentially questions about his work ethic, how he practiced, all these kind of things. And so I don't know what the red flags were that Kyle Neptune didn't defend, or if he just didn't, because you got to imagine you're a college coach, when you're talking about, as a college coach, when this draft process starts and you have a player like Cam Whitmore, just a guy that's top 10 pick, for instance, right? And really in general, but just top 10, let's say, because that's what he was. And teams are coming to you. They're excited about your player. They're excited about this kid that you've been developing for the last year at your school. And then you don't talk highly of him, whether it's you don't defend things that they're arguing about, or whether it's you just don't seem as excited. You're not, really bigging them up. You're not really bragging about them. That's a red flag for teams, right? Because normally as a coach, you would think you would do that, right? You'd be excited for your player. A lot of times you see the college coaches in the green room with the players or at their homes or whatever the case is. So coaches are excited when their players go in the lottery or go in the NBA draft. It looks good for them. It looks good for this young kid that they've been, helping become a man, helping her, elevate his skills for the NBA level. It's a win-win for everybody. It's something that, coaches can go to, potential recruits and say, hey, we got players going to the NBA. That's off my, teaching off this program that we've built here. So for a coach, a college coach, to not speak highly of a player entering the draft, one, like, why are you hurting this guy's career, right? Like, why are you doing that? And then on the flip side, you may say, Neal, but if he's not a good person or he's not a hard worker, I don't want to ruin my reputation as the coach. I don't want these GMs to come back to me next year and not trust my word. I'm trying to think of both sides of this, right? Like, I get why Kyle Neptune was dirty for not defending him. But at the same time, if you're Kyle Neptune and you have players coming in future drafts after you just sold, like, let's say you didn't, maybe say you sold lies to these teams, right? You really don't believe in Cam Whitmore. You think he's a, not a hard worker, or he's going to flail out and bust out, whatever the case may be. You tell them everything's good. Cam Whitmore's awesome. He's a hard worker. Everything is great. There's no red flags. And then he does bust out. The next season, the next player you try to push into the NBA draft and GMs come to you and coaches come to you, they're going to think you sold them, a bag of BS about the last guy. So why would they trust you on this guy? That's potentially maybe something that's at play for him. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with Kyle Neptune. I don't know why he spoke poorly of Cam Whitmore. Now that this is coming out, now that this, conversation is being had, maybe we'll hear more of why this is being said. A lot of people think there's really not much room for Cam Whitmore to fail at the next level. So we'll see if he's going to be one of those NBA busts that we talk about, or if he's going to be a guy who's a success story. And now that he was picked at number 20, which is considered great value for a player of his ability, can he really be a bust even? I don't know. At 20, you're kind of just taking shots in the dark anyway, almost, it feels like at some point. So I don't think necessarily he could be looked at as a bust once he goes to 20, but if you think about where he was projected originally, right? To go from 5 or 4 or 5, 6 range, and then he just keeps falling teens, and then he gets down to 20. And I'm sure there were teams trying to trade up for him. I'm sure there was teams trying to, to make moves, but to see him just keep falling, and you kind of wonder, like, were teams scared once you see this, these teams early up here pass, do you just get scared at this point? You're like, man, something must be wrong. And you just keep letting them drop. You don't want to be the guy to make the mistake. The Rockets took the shot. They already had a first round pick earlier. They're able to gamble. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out for Cam Whitmore. I hope the red flags aren't true. I hope that there's nothing wrong with him and he does really well. If he does, the Rockets are in a really good position. They have a ton of young players, ton of young talented players. Porter, Green, Thompson now, Whitmore now, Segun. They got a whole bunch of good guys there. So it'll be interesting. There's a lot of teams in the NBA like this that are starting to really build up a bunch of young players. They're trying to find their identity. They're trying to find their focal point. They're trying to find their guy. But at the same time, they have so many talented players that, one's going to shake out and make it. One's going to shake out and be the guy, and the rest are just going to fall into place like they need. Shout out to Cam Whitmore. Hope everything works out well for them. Shout out to the Rockets for taking the chance. Kyle Neptune, you're obviously gonna have to explain yourself at some point. I would think. I highly doubt you're gonna just sweep this under the rug and act like it didn't happen. So we'll see how that all plays out. It'll be interesting. We will follow up with it on this show whenever an update is out about that. But I'm curious in the comments, do you think Kyle Neptune was dirty for talking about Cam Whitmore and not showing him love, not talking him up, not giving him praise to GMs? Or do you think that it was a responsible thing to do, protect his job, protect his, his credit, his ego, his reputation? Or do you think it was just dirty? I'm curious what you guys think. I'm curious what the majority thinks on this in terms of what a coach should do in that kind of situation if he doesn't believe in the character of a guy or the hard work ethic of a guy. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Did he do the right thing, or was that super grimy to do?